Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Okay. Hey, guys. Let's go. It's been like 4 days since I posted a reaction, which is a long time for me. I feel a little rusty, but I'm ready. Hope everyone's doing well. Hi, guys. How are you? Good, I hope. I can't hear your response, but if it was bad, then forget about it and let's learn, all right? Fly with RAF's Quick Reaction Alert Cruise. Did I say the things? Original link, top description. Let's go. Let's go. So the guys who, if you have an aircraft that's not responding in your airspace, that you send out like in the movies. So terrorist attack prevention force. Is that fair to just reduce it to that name? Because what else are you going to be? Maybe like a spy plane, but this isn't the Cold War anymore. And with such a small... Well, I'll probably have these questions with relative things in the video. Let's go.
The Eurofighter Typhoon. One of the most advanced fighter jets in the world, armed and ready. The pilots set to scramble at a moment's notice to defend the country on the orders of the British government.
This is what order I've been given. This is my job. I am the weapons platform.
For the first time, cameras have been allowed to film every stage of this vital part of national security.
The worst case scenario is that we potentially have to shoot down an aircraft.
We have scrambled to QRA jets.
We have been inside the UK's top secret nuclear bunker and heard from the pilots themselves and the politicians who would give them the order to shoot down a plane.
You were a hostile aircraft. That's quite threatening.
In a matter of seconds, the sky defenders of the United Kingdom
Going so...
are away on what has now become a routine job, shooting down Nazis.
Going so fast. It's really impressive that airplanes that are going so fast can be so steady right next to each other. Maybe, I'm not sure how dangerous that distance is, but just seeing how smoothly...
That's quite threatening.
In a matter of seconds, the sky defenders of the United Kingdom are away on what has now become a routine job, shooting down Nazis.
Just as we were ready in 1940 for the Nazi aircraft coming across the southeast of England, then we're ready now.
This is the story of how the RAF protects Britain's skies every minute of every day.
Britain's top guns.
RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire is home to two frontline Typhoon squadrons. 30 combat jets are based here. They are flown by 40 pilots and supported by 400 ground crew. They have many roles, but the one that never ends for them is a mission known as QRA. It stands for Quick Reaction Alert. The RAF's operation to protect the skies of Britain.
So, am I wrong to simplify this to, it's not the Cold War anymore. It's not like you're looking for spy planes. Maybe if, so your job right now, if you're in the RAF Quick Reaction Alert, is to confront and likely shoot down a civilian aircraft that is headed to crash into civilian or just any aircraft. I don't know why I picked civilian to make it more dramatic, just to be like that's a possibility. Is that I know during 9/11 that the plane that went down in Pennsylvania wasn't because it was shot down. It's because people fought against it. But they might have to shoot that down. And as awful as that sounds, the people on the plane dying is preferable than the people on the plane dying and their intentional target also being hit. And so I just like being blunt. That is largely their job, is to, in case, have to shoot down an aircraft that is trying to do some sort of terrorist act right now, right? That's the...
On a discrete part of RAF
Basic.
Coningsby is a building nicknamed the Q Shed. It sits between two hangars. Inside each one is an aircraft loaded with fuel and missiles, ready to take off day or night. The pilots take it in turns on the QRA rota. Each shift lasts 24 hours. They don't want us to broadcast their surnames for their own personal security.
Just tell me what it's like, the feelings when you're on shift and you're fairly tense because you don't know when that's going to crack on.
Yeah, indeed. You can't think about it too much because otherwise your mind wouldn't be in the right place when you got the shout. Obviously, you've always got an ear on anything that can happen.
On shift, the Q Shed becomes home. There are bedrooms so they can sleep overnight, but on duty, their senses never fully switch off. Mark is coming to the end of his first shift, and it's been a quiet one.
This is your first QRA?
Yeah.
What sort of feeling of responsibility do you have?
Yeah, it's a huge feeling of responsibility. It's kind of nice to be able to kind of fulfil the training that we've carried out for such a long period of time. But yeah, there certainly is a weight of responsibility. Yeah.
Why is it important for you to be doing this job?
I think it's, as John said before, I think it's a real privilege to be in this position to protect the country as a whole.
It's been a gentle introduction to QRA for Mark. Not every shift, though, is as quiet as this one.
It's a great thing to have.
On average, 8,000 aircraft enter British airspace every single day. This animation shows the actual route of each plane during one typical 24-hour period last year. Whether they're landing, taking off, or just passing overhead, each aircraft must be closely monitored.
It is quite a challenge, but our training and the practicing and the simulation that we do in terms of our operations are fundamental to making sure that we achieve the tasks that we are assigned to do. We're identifying aircraft every day, and we're looking for every aircraft that comes into the UK to understand where it's going, what it's doing. But on occasions, on a daily basis,
What?
where it's going,
Oh, I'm an idiot. He's waiting to land.
what it's
I was like, well, what is this guy doing in circles over here?
doing.
Sorry, my bad. I interrupted him, but for a stupid question.
We're looking for every aircraft that comes into the UK to understand where it's going, what it's doing. But on occasions, on a daily basis, there are instances where we are unsure of what the aircraft is doing, or it might be in a different place to where we were expecting it, or a different time.
The British military has 2 air control and reporting centres, CRCs, one based at RAF Bulmer in Northumberland and this one at RAF Scampton in Lincolnshire, just a few miles to the west of the Typhoon station at RAF Coningsby. For security reasons, the various parts of the QRA operation are kept in different locations in case of attack. Their job here is to identify suspicious activity. They are looking for abnormal behaviour, unusual flight paths, loss of communication, unidentified aircraft. As we are filming, an alert goes off.
Okay, what we've got is we've had a call on guard radio. Guard radio is where every aircraft within the UK listens to that radio with air traffic going out for an aircraft who is not speaking to anyone at the moment.
Every single aircraft in the UK?
Every aircraft will listen into the guard radio so that actually if they need to be contacted, they can be contacted. In this particular instance, an aircraft has got airborne out of Marham. We believe it to have a stuck receiver, which means he can't hear, but we have not had him check in. So they've gone on guard radio to try and contact him to establish two-way communications with him and therefore be able to identify him and confirm which aircraft it is.
It turns out to be a US Air Force plane with radio problems. Nothing to worry about. The Typhoon crews are stood down.
The US is going to attack.
We have
So the majority of this, it's got to be pretty much always a stressful job for any sort of air traffic controller, military or otherwise. But again, I'd imagine 95% of your time as a response, quick response RAF guy, pilot, is going to be nothing. And then the vast majority of the not nothingness will just be, I'm sure, scrambled and then retreated because of like, all right, we got an alarm. And then another little part will probably be going next to the airplane and checking on them. And then the tiniest piece of that would be actually engaging the aircraft, shooting it.
two main missions in respect of
Sorry about
radio problems. Nothing to worry about. The Typhoon crews are stood down.
We have two main missions in respect of quick reaction and alert. One is against military aircraft and Russian aircraft, and the other one is very much a UK-centric 9/11 type scenario.
This is a Russian Bear aircraft. It's a long-range Tupolev bomber. Recently, Vladimir Putin has been using them to challenge NATO's response.
How do you assess that current geopolitical situation with the Russians?
The first question is, going to speak to Mr. Putin and see what his intentions are. But I think the important thing from my viewpoint, we have a responsibility as a NATO member, firstly to reassure those member states that are much closer to any potential Russian threat than ourselves, that we are here, that NATO is fit for purpose, and of course to deter, as part of NATO, any potential aggressors to the organisation and the countries within it.
Only last Thursday, 2 RAF Typhoons were scrambled from Lossiemouth in Scotland to intercept a Russian Blackjack strategic bomber that is capable of flying supersonic.
So obviously we're in a much different climate today with Russia. That this video is from 8 years ago, so you got to keep that in mind.
The Russian planes don't submit a flight plan or transmit their position. They never actually enter British airspace, but fly into the British area of interest to test the RAF's reactions.
They're doing their job, and we're doing our job to determine what is happening and then feed that back to the fighter controllers and further up the chain.
In April 2015, a Russian Bear bomber flew up the English Channel straight through busy commercial flight paths.
What?
This is video of that incident, filmed from inside the Russian plane. The RAF Typhoons shadowing it alongside.
This kind of flying is extremely intimidatory. It's also dangerous. They may not enter our airspace, but they don't respond. They don't file flight plans. They don't respond to air traffic control. They don't even respond to our pilots when they're up in the...
What do you mean?
Is the RAF type video of that incident straight through busy
back to the fighter controllers and further up the chain.
In April 2015, a Russian Bear bomber flew up the English Channel.
Oh my God! I thought I heard the Thames, the English Channel. I thought, okay, all right. For some reason, my mind heard that as English Channel, as if a Russian military aircraft was flying up the English Channel towards London. Okay, the Thames River.
Through busy...
That was a brain fart.
Commercial flight paths. This is video of that incident, filmed from inside the Russian plane. The RAF Typhoons shadowing it alongside.
This kind of flying is extremely
intimidatory.
It's also dangerous. They may not enter our airspace, but they don't respond. They don't file flight plans. They don't respond to air traffic control. They don't even respond to our pilots when they're up in the air alongside them. It's unnecessary behaviour. It's intimidatory. It's designed to control. They don't even respond to our pilots when they're up in the air alongside them. It's unnecessary behaviour. It's intimidatory. It's designed to annoy us, but it's important we respond to it, and we do.
In a matter of seconds, the sky defenders of the United Kingdom are away on what has now become a routine job, shooting down Nazis.
75 years ago, the men and women of the RAF were performing a very similar role, but against a very different enemy.
Goering's Luftwaffe took its first licking.
In 1940, the German Luftwaffe was bombing airfields across the southeast of England. The only thing that stood in their way were the Hurricanes and Spitfires of Fighter Command.
Damn right.
It was the Battle of Britain.
Well, this is rather a large part of British history. If it wasn't for the replica Hurricane and a Spitfire as well, you wouldn't know it's here. You could almost walk straight past it. Because 76 stairs below here is a World War II underground operations room, which was the command centre for the Battle of Britain.
During those tense days, this bunker at RAF Uxbridge was manned round the clock as the Nazis pummeled the airfields in the southeast. Key decisions that would decide the fate of Europe were taken here, 60 feet underground.
It's extraordinary to think that just 70 years ago this was very much the height of technology. And trying to imagine what it must have been like during those days. There would have been 20 people crowded around this table, all of them women, working in pairs, plotting the route of German aircraft as they came across the English Channel. One RAF officer said it was like a game of tennis. The Germans were always serving, the RAF were the ones returning. And on that day, that crucial day, as if to add to the pressure, Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister, was up here watching down, and he saw on the board behind all of the lights turn red, meaning that every single Spitfire and Hurricane squadron was up in the air engaging the Germans. And he turned to the man in charge and said, "How much have we got in reserve?" The answer came back, "None."
Fighter Command was vastly outnumbered. The Luftwaffe came at them with over 3,000 aircraft. The Allies only had 600 in the beginning.
Crazy thing about Battle of Britain is that although there are a lot of people coordinating, and I'm sure the pilots couldn't do much if not for the people on the. I know the pilots couldn't do anything if not for the people on the ground, whether it's like radar people or mechanics, engineers, and whatnot. But knowing that you are one of the few people that are piloting the aircraft to go shoot down the Germans coming in must have been an insane feeling. They probably didn't think about it at the time. But just knowing that you are one of the very few people that are whose responsibility it is to save Britain is crazy.
Lost 103 pilots killed, 128 seriously injured. The lifeblood of Fighter Command, its fighter pilots, was ebbing away. So we were in a pretty serious state. We had pilots. We didn't have combat-trained pilots, and pilots were arriving at frontline squadrons, if they were lucky, with 20 hours of experience on a Hurricane or a Spitfire, some with 15, some with 10, some with none at all.
The Hurricane might have shot down more planes in the battle, but the Spitfire has become a British icon.
Well, this is the last remaining airworthy Spitfire to have fought in the Battle of Britain, and the RAF bought it for £25 off a scrap heap back in 1948. Would you believe it? It's not particularly comfortable, I have to say, and to imagine that these young men would go up in it 4 or 5 times a day to face the Germans over the English Channel
seems like a very tight fit too.
It's quite something.
Today, the home of the Battle of Britain memorial flight is RAF Coningsby. The planes that defended Britain's skies 75 years ago now live alongside their modern successors, the Typhoons. There are a few RAF pilots who get to fly both. One of those is Coningsby's station commander, Group Captain Jez Attridge.
These old aeroplanes, you can really feel them. There's not much to them. It's you and the stick. Whereas the modern aeroplanes, it's all about processing the information rather than actually flying the aeroplane. So you're sitting there as a battle space manager rather than a pure pilot.
That's interesting.
Like the Spitfire.
Ooh, why do some have one? Guys,
pure pilot.
Question: why does some have two? What is the name? Jet out thruster jets. Frickin' the two of these things, and some only have one. Oh my God, my brain.
Like the Spitfire
Sorry about that.
and the Hurricane, the Typhoon was designed for a dogfight. It was built to shoot down the enemy. From their Lincolnshire base, they can be over central London in just 10 minutes. When the alarm goes, there is no time for a briefing. Coming up, the siren sounds.
You're right.
The siren goes off and we need to be out of those aircraft as soon as possible.
The training just kicks in and the adrenaline flows.
And we experience firsthand what it is like to be intercepted at 35,000 feet.
If you do not respond immediately to my orders and turn east, you will be shot down.
During the later years of the Cold War, when the Russian nuclear threat was at its height, the British government built this bunker at RAF Air Command outside High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire. It is so top secret that this is the first time cameras have been allowed to film it. 3 sets of blast doors protect it from nuclear, biological and chemical attack. There are 4 floors going deep below the ground. On the second, somewhere in the heart of the bunker, is the National Air Defence Operations Centre, the NADOC, the top of the military chain to protect Britain's skies.
Micah, this is the MC for the NatRep. We still have no radio contact with...
The role of the NADOC is to act very much as the hub, the fusion point, if you want, for all the information that comes in to allow us to exercise air defence on behalf of the United Kingdom Air Defence Command.
We've got a lost comms on a call sign.
If a suspicious aircraft appears, there is a direct line from here to the Department of Transport and the Metropolitan Police Counter-Terror Unit. They can swap intelligence to build a clearer picture of the threat. In real emergencies, a red phone connects straight to Downing Street. When dialed, a voice answers with one simple word, London. It is then transferred to the Prime Minister or to a senior cabinet minister if he is away.
Imagine when the phone rings, even during an exercise, the heart beats a little faster.
Yes, you know, there are lives at stake, there are uncertainties, you're unsure as to how real the threat is, and there's advice available to you, but in the end, a minister has to take that decision.
The QRA operation is highly sensitive. It has never been filmed before, from start to finish.
I always think of the Prime Minister as the president equivalent, but I know they're not the same thing. And so I often, in my mind, just imagine the Prime Minister has every... Because over here, the president is you know, if you're the president, you're the commander-in-chief. I'm doing air quotes. I don't know if you can see that. And so you are like the boss's the highest general in the military. Well, their boss is the Secretary of Defense, and then the Secretary of Defense's boss is the president. So in military matters, the president is the last, sayer of what to do. Unless it's declaring war, you got to go to Congress. But I don't know how similar the Prime Minister in Britain, their military hierarchy is. I don't know if it's the same. And so I'm not sure exactly what the Prime Minister has the power to do when it comes to military stuff.
The RAF gave us it has never been filmed before, from start to finish. But the RAF gave us unprecedented access to do just that. This is how it works. We flew out of RAF Coningsby to play the part of a hijacked passenger plane.
So we've been heading east over the North Sea. We're about there at the moment. And in a minute we're going to turn around, we're going to start coming back down towards the UK, but this time as an unidentified aircraft. At which point the alarm bells will start ringing. The Typhoons based here in Coningsby will be scrambled, and they will come out, sit alongside us, and intercept us.
At RAF Scampton, our aircraft is identified on the computer screens.
Track of interest! East Coast inbound!
They immediately contact the NADOC in the bunker at RAF Air Command.
NatRep, good morning, sir. This is the Master Control. I have a track of interest in the system for you.
Zulu 001. He's east coast heading northwest right now at 35,000 feet.
Yeah, I can see it on your radar.
Roger, that's understood. I will bring quick reaction alert to readiness. Stand by.
The master controller at Scampton alerts the Typhoons.
Coningsby Operations and QRA. This is the Black Dog Master Controller. Acknowledge.
QRA.
Q on. 4 quick reaction alerts. Scramble, 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 acknowledge.
QRA.
The 2 pilots and their ground teams run to the hangars. They can flick a switch to begin powering up the jet, even as they climb into the cockpit. The Typhoons are cleared to take off.
We have scrambled 2 QRA jets to intercept this lost comms aircraft. 1 jet has been cleared supersonic.
Climb flight level 410 and 400. Bed speed initially decimal 9. Your mission, interrogate.
As they break through the clouds,
Any other information that we got on this aircraft?
the team on the ground are still trying to gather intelligence on the suspect aircraft.
He's still out of radio contact with air traffic control.
Typhoons need to reach it fast and assess the situation for themselves. The quicker they get there, the more thinking time for the Prime Minister if he is called upon to make a decision. And it can happen.
We start with breaking news tonight as a Russian-built Latvian cargo plane's been intercepted by RAF Typhoons and escorted into Stansted Airport. The military.
In October 2014, the Typhoons from RAF Coningsby flew supersonic to intercept a Latvian aircraft approaching London. It wasn't communicating, and so the RAF pilot gave this final warning.
1605 from the Lima 9 Tango 47. I'm instructed by Her Majesty's Government of the United Kingdom to warn you that if you do not respond immediately to my orders, you will be shot down.
The cargo plane was safely escorted into Stansted. It is one of the UK's designated airports for terrorist incidents.
The people in the cockpit, the people communicating with the cockpit are fully trained, fully rehearsed and ready for that moment.
Back at RAF Coningsby, even as the 2 Typhoons are closing in on our target aircraft, new jets are being readied should another call come in. The pilot inspects the weapons and does his pre-flight checks in the cockpit. If the sirens sound, everything must be ready to go. Although there is another QRA base at RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland, Coningsby must be set to launch any time of day or night, even if some of its aircraft are already deployed. 30,000 feet above the North Sea, the Typhoons are closing in on our aircraft. They approach cautiously, in case they spook the plane, and then they try to contact the cockpit.
Russian 66 from Q2, interceptor aircraft.
Our aircraft doesn't respond.
Q2, Black Dog, confirm no response.
It's remarkable how close they get. There's one on either side of us at the moment, both fully armed. If you were a hostile aircraft, that's quite threatening.
The Typhoon pilots will report what they're seeing back to the ground and in turn receive any new intelligence.
Change heading onto east immediately.
It's threatening because it's like I'm right here, I'm much faster than you. If you don't respond, I'm just going to slow down a bit and then shoot you. Also, a main target I would think of would be London. So and London is close to the English Channel, North Sea kind of joining. If you go as close as you can to the airspace before people are going to, in Britain, are going to acknowledge you and be like, hello, respond here. How do I say this? If I'm intending to drive my plane into a building or something in London, how far is London from the closest place that is not considered UK airspace to where Like you can get right there and then just turn and go right for it. Like how long would that take going like 500 miles an hour to go from that point that is just beyond British airspace to your target? And could RAF aircraft respond in enough time to shoot it down? Also, if you were disguised as like an American or a Canadian or a French plane, I don't know if you painted it or something like that, because in that point you're really not going to want to shoot down the plane unless you're absolutely certain. I'm sure you're going to call whatever country and be like, is this your plane? Is this your plane? No, that's not our plane. And then go shoot it down. I just wonder if the terrorists had the perfect situation where they were as close to London but being outside British airspace to where they could just turn and dart for London. Could they hit their target before an aircraft could intercept them? That's my question.
The Typhoon pilots will report what they're seeing back to the ground and in turn receive any new intelligence.
Change heading onto east immediately. Acknowledge.
So that they can stay on station for as long as needed, a refueling tanker is deployed.
So we'll be getting communications from the control and reporting centres at Scampton and Bulmer. They'll be giving us instructions as more information is fed to them, and they gain more information from other sources. And then gradually there's an escalation process if that needs to occur. There's nothing new in there that we don't practice, and the training just kicks in and the adrenaline flows.
Having no luck with radio contact, the Typhoon pilots fire flares as a show of force. By now, most options have been tried, and our plane is still not responding. It has become a real threat to national security.
I am instructed by Her Majesty's Government of the United Kingdom to warn you that if you do not respond immediately to my orders to turn east, you will be shot down.
It is probable that were this...
You would think even if the pilot like legitimately has communication problems, that couldn't they do some sort of like wing movement and then like trying to turn to show them like, I understand I can't talk to you, but I'm not just completely ignoring you and just going straight, right? So even if your communication was broken, couldn't you still signal in some way that you're not hostile and you're trying to regain contact?
Happening for real, the Prime Minister or a senior cabinet member would now be on the line and briefed.
The worst case scenario is that we potentially have to shoot down an aircraft, but that's having gone through the most robust processes and procedures in order to identify and interrogate that aircraft.
And who would make that decision?
That decision is held at the political level, at the highest political level.
Prime Minister?
Who would give the order
exactly.
to the pilot?
The orders would be issued by my team.
Were they trained for that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
and they're ready to... The orders would be issued by my team.
Were they trained for that?
Absolutely, and they're ready to do that.
Would you be prepared to shoot down a commercial airliner?
At the end of the day, we're in the military. This is our job, 24/7, 365 days a year. So, if that's an order given to us and the correct protocols have been followed, the correct authentications be given, then yes, we can't think about it. It's our job. It's an order. It will when I land. It won't airborne. It's our job. It's an order. It will when I land. It won't airborne.
Interesting. That is a man who I want in this job. That response was awesome.
It's an order.
Does it go through your mind?
It will when I land.
It will when I land. That is such an awesome answer.
Airborne.
Oh.
The Typhoons have returned to Coningsby. Another day on quick reaction alert. Their mission is over, their shift isn't. They go back on standby, ready should the alarm go again.
It seems like a lot of military jobs. I've never been in the military, never anything close, never held a gun, okay? So keep that in mind, how little I know. Most of what I know about the military is from looking at comments in these reaction videos I do to you guys answering my questions. That's where I've gotten the majority of my military knowledge. You guys are great at it, by the way, and I appreciate it. Why couldn't I just say it? Am I going to forget? Oh my God.
Go again.
Oh yeah, this seems like for a lot of military positions that it's like 99% of your job is extremely boring, interrupted by the 1% that is insanely not boring. What would that be? That is insanely stressful. So like 99% of like, you know, keeping at the ready, but just, and then the 1% of just, you might have to kill 100, 300 people, 600 people right now, but to save, you know, maybe 3,000. And I think there's a saying with, like, if you're a B-29 bomber or something, the one that carries the nuclear weapons, that you're either going to retire with zero military kills, or like 400,000 or something like that. And that's a crazy thing to think about. Just knowing that it's very likely that you could have no combat from the end of your like decades-long career, but there's also likely that you could have the most insane combat experience than maybe anyone else, or just responsible for the most death, either zero death or hundreds of thousands.
In 1940, the young men and women of Fighter Command protected Britain's skies against Nazi invasion. Today, 75 years on, Russian aircraft continue to probe NATO's air defences, and the threat of terrorism is as high as it has been for many years.
Everyone knows their part in that system. They train for it, they rehearse for it. So then if an event happens, then they're ready to react.
Training kicks in. This is what I've been trained to do. This is what order I've been given. This is my job.
Every pilot, engineer and controller is aware of the part that they play, keeping the country safe, protecting Britain's skies every minute of every day.
I admire discipline so much. And it's something I usually admire. Like, my favorite character, okay, in Harry Potter was Hermione, okay? And the reason was that I was never a good student, okay? Ever. And so I admired her as a character because she was what I wasn't in school. You know, extremely smart and on top of subjects and everything. And I admire that with people in real life. The people who I know, I'm not saying that I wouldn't, if given some military, you know, if it came to me, maybe I'd rise to it and be able to do some stuff. But just knowing that there are some people that are just so competent and on their game makes me so happy. And just so, knowing that there are so many people that are as competent or much, much more competent than I am makes me feel safe and just love humans. Love people. That was a great video. Love y'all. Hope you're all doing well. Would appreciate any comments down below as always, especially on topics like this where I'm hazy at best with my knowledge. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys. Again, hope you're all doing well. Chin up if not. Emotions are fickle, my friend. See you next time. Bye.